go ahead and call the meeting to order. I'd like to thank everyone for being here this evening. This is our October 2nd council session for the town of Smithfield. Our mayor is absent tonight, so I'll be starting this evening. At this time, I'd like to ask for everyone to stand, Councilman Dunn, for invocation, and we'll say the pledge of the following now.
Please bow your heads and pray with me. Dear Lord, thank you for allowing us to gather here today to do the work of the town and your work. And thank you for being with the citizens of Smithfield as we endured a horrible storm. But please be with those that were greatly affected, more so than us. Hope that they have a speedy recovery. And thank you for all the town's employees and the good work they did for us.
We will say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. At this time, we've got an agenda before us. You guys had a chance to look over that. You've got a few known changes. Any other business with the agenda?
Mayor Pro Tem, I move that we amend the consent agenda to include the special event for Powers and Thomas Midway Entertainment, the special event for First Baptist Church, and the consideration and approval of a proclamation in support of bond referendum for Johnson County Board of Education, Johnston Community College.
Thank you, Councilman Ashley. Any other? Got a motion?
Second.
Motion second. I call for the vote this time. Agenda. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Clerk. Thank you. At this time, we have a couple presentations of Mr. Daniel Sanders' family, and we have a tragic loss in our community. I'd like to ask the family and friends of Miss Regina Sanders if you can come forward and join me at the podium for a special recognition for her and for Mr. Sanders. Miss Sanders, if you would come right over here, it'd be fine. Can I have a hood? It's good to see you. So sorry about Mr. Daniel. We actually planned to recognize him in our last session, but unfortunately he was going through his turmoil and he's now with the Lord, so we're thankful for his peace, but we wanted to make sure and still present this, okay? So at this time, I'm going to read this to you, if that's all right. Can I get y'all to join up here? I'll let y'all hold it, okay? Proclamation in memory of Mr. Daniel Lonnell Sanders, dedicated to service to Smithfield. Whereas on behalf of the town of Smithfield, we wish to extend our sincere condolences over the passing of Mr. Daniel Lonnell Sanders on September 10, 2018. Whereas Daniel Lonnell Sanders' passing leaves our community with a deep feeling of sorrow for the loss of such honored and respected citizens, and whereas Daniel Lonnell Sanders faithfully served the town of Smithfield as a member of the planning board for 11 dedicated years and a member of the Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee for 8 years. And whereas Daniel Lonnell Sanders demonstrated his concern for the welfare and well-being of his fellow citizens by the action of both his private life and by participation in various civic organizations. And whereas Mr. Daniel Lonnell Sanders' service was given with such devotion that he earned the respect, admiration, and friendship of citizens and bureaucrats for his humble leadership and kindness. Whereas the town of Smithfield gratefully for many contributions to our community. Now, therefore, I, Mayor Pro Tem Scott, and Mayor Moore of the town of Smithfield, along with the members of the Smithfield Council, in recognition of Daniel Lonnell Sanders for many contributions to our town citizens, we hereby express our deepest appreciation for dedication to the progress of this community and extend to his family and sincere sympathy upon his passing. Thank you, Mr. DJ. We have one more recognition for you. Okay, I'll hold that for you. Ms. Regina, on behalf of the town of Smithfield, we'd like to thank you for the service that you provided as well. We also have a proclamation in your honor, okay? I'll read this one as well. Proclamation in honor of Regina Sanders for dedicated service to the town of Smithfield and Appearance Commission. Whereas Ms. Regina Sanders, a longtime resident of the town of Smithfield, has dedicated her time and attention by serving on the Appearance Commission for over 11 years. Apparently, y'all got started together. Yeah. Whereas during her tenure, Regina Sanders served as the chairperson for the Appearance Commission, and whereas the town of Smithfield and its citizens have benefited greatly because of her participation, interest, and work in the area of beautification. Whereas Ms. Regina Sanders has demonstrated in many ways her deep and genuine love for the community. Whereas Ms. Regina Sanders has been instrumental in changing overall beauty of our town. Whereas the town of Smithfield will greatly miss Regina Sanders' historical knowledge and involvement with the Appearance Commission. Now, therefore, I, Travis Scott, on behalf of Andy Moore, Mayor of Town of Smithfield, along with members of the Smithfield Town Council, express our sincere appreciation to Ms. Regina Sanders for her distinguished service to the town of Smithfield. Thank you, Ms. Regina. Yes, ma'am. She'd like to say something. We'll take just a minute. Ms. Sanders, if you would. Here's the mic right here.
On behalf of my late husband, Daniel Sanders, our families would certainly thank you all for honoring him and myself. If you know, we live here and we were dedicated. We loved our community and what we did in the community. My husband especially, on the advisory board and on the planning board, he would do his research. He really took that job to heart. And I truly miss him, and I know that he's gonna be missed, but we know that he's with the Lord now. He's in a better place. He's not hurting anymore. He's not having problems breathing. So again, thank you all for allowing us that privilege to serve the community.
We thank you. Thank you, Ms. Sanders. At this time, I'd like to call up Police Chief Keith Powell and our new police officer for administering oath of office. The oath of office for Mr. Bryant Jimenez. So what we'd like to do is, you want to hold this for him? We're going to read this if you would raise your right hand. Oath of office for police officer for town of Smithfield. I, Bryant Jimenez, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States.
I, Bryant Jimenez, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States.
That I will continue to be faithful and bear true allegiance to the state of North Carolina and the constitutional powers of authorities.
That I will continue to be faithful and bear true allegiance to the state of North Carolina and to the constitutional powers and authorities which are or may be established for the government, therefore.
I will endeavor to support, maintain, and defend the Constitution of said state, not consistent with the Constitution of the United States.
That I will endeavor to support, maintain, and defend the Constitution of said states, not inconsistent with the Constitution of the United States.
That I will be alert and vigilant in enforcement of criminal laws of this state.
That I will be alert and vigilant to the effort to the criminal laws of the state.
And that I will not be influenced in any manner or any account of personal bias or prejudice.
And that I will not be influenced in any manner of account of personal bias or prejudice.
And that I will faithfully and impartially execute the duties of my office as police officer.
And that I will faithfully and particularly execute the duties of my office as a police officer.
According with the best of my skills, ability, and judgment, so help me God.
According to the best of my skill, ability, judgment, so help me God.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
Congratulations, welcome.
Congrats. Thank you. Oh, okay.
Congratulations, sir.
Oh, yeah, that's what I'm
Congratulations. Thank you.
Welcome again.
Thank everyone for their patience as we have their special presentations. At this time, I'd like to call on Economic Development, Mr. Tim Kerrigan. I think Mr. Rocky's here as well for another presentation on behalf of the Economic Development. That's the gentleman that'll be on our page 5, I believe. Excuse me, 7.
I'll leave most of the honors of the presentation to Rocky here today. He's prepared a nice slide show for us, but he assists us all year long with economic development duties and consultation. And one of the requests of council had been that he always provide an annual report. So I will leave it now to Rocky.
Thank you, Tim. Good evening, and it's always a pleasure to be here with you all. We've had a very busy year. Tim and I have had a really busy year in economic development, and I've got some slides to give you the highlights. I think you have maybe copies of the slides and a synopsis as well that we provided. I'm going to hit what button? Typically, I'll cut it off or make it go backwards or something. I don't know which button to hit. That one goes forward. Okay, good deal. From the Economic Development Program, as you well know, is driven by the strategic plan update that was done in 2014. From that strategic economic development plan, there were several implementation items, and those implementation items have action items with them. The implementation items that we touched on this past year are business retention and expansion, new business recruitment, product development, internal and external marketing, downtown redevelopment, residential development, retail development, incentives in Johnson Community College. And I want to give you a little highlights on under each one. In business retention and expansion, we met with 7 local businesses. We identified one potential expansion. This particular individual was talking about building a brand new building for his facility. We're excited about that, and we'll continue to follow up with that. We met with a company to develop strategies to address an imminent threat that was brought on by some tariffs, that his raw materials were costing him excessively, and he was having to consider moving production out of Smithfield, out of the country, actually. So we met with him to talk to him about possible strategies to overcome that. And we informed businesses of the town's economic development program, the interest in their well-being, and the available support and assistance. I cannot tell you the goodwill that the town of Smithfield has or gets when Tim looks at him in the eye and says, "We're glad you're here. We appreciate you're here. We appreciate the jobs and the capital investment, the taxes you pay for the town, and the support you've given to the town over many years." You can't put a price on that when you see that owner or that plant manager look back and acknowledge what you just said. New business recruitment, we have regular meetings with Chris Johnson. We've talked with him on numerous occasions about the citing criteria of companies in general that he's talking to, the citing criteria of life science companies in particular. And we discussed workforce issues with him, the availability and the quantity and the quality. That always seems to be an issue with any company, not just here, but workforce issues are becoming a real problem for companies in general. In the product development, we have secured, Tim and I worked to secure 65 acres for the West Smithfield Industrial Park. We continue to pursue the recertification of an industrial park that was once certified but is now not. There's some issues with the owner that we continue to work through, and we continue to seek available properties that can be developed for industrial purposes. This is I don't know if you can see it, it's an outline of the West in Smithfield Industrial Park. Everything has been submitted, all the criteria, all the 31 items have been submitted except 2, actually, for this site. It was submitted in August. It should be certified at the end of this month, because there's another meeting with the steering committee. This particular layout, which is, your town limits come about right through here. So the majority of this huge building and all these facilities are within your corporate city limits. All of it is served by your water and sewer system. And we got great support from your town, public utilities, in giving us the letters and support we needed. In the development of this, there was the Golden Leaf grant also that was applied for by the town to extend the water lines on Durwood Stevenson here, water sewer lines, to support the extensions there. And we wrote a letter, Tim and I wrote a letter that went to Golden Leaf that told about Western Smithfield Industrial Park and the projected jobs that park would support. That'll be a terrific asset. It's out that way toward all the growth that's coming from Raleigh, so that'll be a great asset for not only the county, but the town of Smithfield as well. Internal and external marketing. After many months working with Electric Cities, we finally got what they had promised, a strategic communication plan. We have regular meetings and contact with the CDAC. We have regular meetings with the Smithfield Selma Chamber of Commerce. And Tim applied for and was awarded 2 grant awards, one Smart Communities grant and a Customized Communities grant. And I think the intention of that is to develop and expand the marketing materials that are available to the town. And there's a regular public presence to the program through Tim, his outreach into the community, and when I'm here and I'm out in the community, everybody in the community knows that you have an economic development program, and that's a positive thing. They know that the town is committed to helping grow and expand the tax base and jobs. Downtown redevelopment, we facilitated the old town hall inclusion as a UNC School of Government graduate class project. They actually did a feasibility study on it and what it would take to bring it up to a usable state. We conducted the tour of the facility, for Johnson Community College president and vice president, for them to look at it as a potential secondary or use, if it were to be redeveloped. We conducted a tour of the facility in the downtown area for a downtown developer. This person came to us through an engineer we worked with on certified sites and in other projects. And this particular developer is doing downtown renovation projects in other eastern North Carolina communities and also some in Virginia. So it's a seasoned person that's got a track record and got an experience, and he has interest. He has indicated that he would be interested in pursuing it further. We also took him, when he came down and looked, Sarah Edwards was with us on the tour and basically led the tour. Not only did we go to the old town hall, but he indicated an interest in looking at some other buildings that had potential in the downtown area, and Sarah was gracious enough to take her time and make that tour as well. So he has some interest, and we are continuing to stay in contact with him, try to entice him to come back and take a second look. And we advised on the expansion of the downtown district. Residential development, we conducted a residential tour for a UNC DCI professor to look at the area back in here, the residential area that's close to the downtown area, to see if that would fit into some of her consulting work that she does through DCI, to see if that would be a potential project for her. Tim gave terrific support for the new residential subdivision that is out close to the Aquatic Center. And we assisted in the development of residential incentives, what it was reasonable and logical for the town to do in terms of supporting residential growth and residential development. In retail development, we reviewed and provided input on a proposal by Retail Strategies. I don't know if you remember the proposal. It would have been a joint venture and jointly paid for by Electricities. But in the final analysis, we believed that it was too expensive, and because of all the retail growth you're having already, it really wouldn't be cost effective to invest in that. And we also identified some other developers, some local developers, that had some ideas and some very aggressive thoughts on that, so we recommended not to pursue that. And we established, as I said, partnerships to develop internal strategies for retail recruitment and development with local folks. Incentives. We facilitated a discussion with Ernie Pearson regarding incentive practices for industrial projects. Ernie Pearson, for those of you who don't know, is an attorney with Nexon Pruitt. He's probably done more incentive packages than anybody in the state of North Carolina. I'm convinced of that. He was a site selection consultant on the Novo Nordisk plant. And in the interest of full disclosure, he is the founding partner of Sanford Wholesale's Economic Development Consulting. So he is my partner. And there in the end, why we engaged him to advise the town. And I might add, that wasn't no cost, wasn't it? Like, Ernie didn't charge you anything, did he?
We contracted with him later to create some residential development reimbursements.
Okay. And we facilitated a discussion with Ernie again regarding incentive practices for residential development, which Mike just alluded to. And we're doing research on incentive practices and strategies to encourage downtown redevelopment. We've had several discussions with that. One as late as this afternoon about talking about what is appropriate and reasonable to offer, or what incentive practices are being used, best practices, and to encourage downtown redevelopment. Johnson Community College, we met with Dr. David Johnson and the Vice President, Dr. Darrell McGraw, and discussed planned projects in the town's role, what the town can do to assist Johnson Community College, because Johnson Community College is not only a terrific asset for this county, but especially for the town of Smithfield. And also we talked about the development along Market Street and the college involvement, what they would like to see there and what they would support on that corridor. Our goals for this year are to continue and expand the business and retention activities. That is the most important activity, any economic development program, no matter how large or how small it is. That is the most important thing that an economic development program can do. We're going to work hard to recruit targeted businesses to downtown, and we hope to facilitate redevelopment of the old town hall, and we're going to continue and strengthen our existing partnerships and seek out others that would be of benefit to the town. That's the end of my presentation. I'll be more than happy to try to answer any questions you might have.
Gentlemen, do you have any questions for
Can you tell us the status of the Old Town Hall right now? Are we not, don't we have some type of action on the Old Town Hall?
We do have a condemnation action against the building and the owners at this time.
But we're going through that legal process at this point in time.
Yes, but it's our hope that, would come to some resolution with it, and that property would become something viable for our downtown area. But so far, nothing has been done with that building. It's in violation, and it's being pursued the same as any other property.
Do you know the timeline on that? It's a long, lengthy process.
It will be a long process to, bring the whole process to fruition to complete it. But our hope is that, we can reconcile something before that time.
Now, it's also my understanding that we have begun this action before on the same building.
Back in 2010, the building was condemned as well. I'm not really sure why things didn't continue at that point, but not looking backwards, looking forwards, we're trying to make sure we're handling it properly now.
Well, the reason why I'm asking is because it seems like there was a lot of information, information provided us on the efforts that are being done by the part of the economic development in the town of Smithfield on a building that's going through condemnation process. because it's got to get fixed or else it's got to get rid of. So, I mean, that's a lot of our efforts being done. I realize that, but we're also spending money on costing us to do the condemnation process, correct?
It will, as we go through the process. It hasn't cost us really anything yet, other than our time.
So I guess my question to you is, given the situation we are in today, and recognizing you guys that you're an expert at this in this field, what would you say, is it worth our efforts to continue on the track, the dual track? So obviously we have no choice on the one track because it's in violation, we got no choice. So the question is it worth our effort to continue to pursue the other things that you guys are doing economically when we can't get them to fix the problems that we're already doing on the condemnation?
Yes, and I'll tell you why. First of all, the condemnation, action did not start till recently, is that correct?
Yeah, it hasn't been underway very long.
Okay, so all the stuff we're talking about has happened in the months past. Didn't know that was happening. As I understand condemnation, it's a lawsuit. And I'm not a lawyer, and I am, Ernie Pearson tells me to tell people that all the time when I stray into this area. So Bob, please back me up if Ernie calls. I'm not a lawyer, but as I understand condemnation, it's a suit, and that suit could be stopped at any time if, in fact, the town, in their meetings, upcoming meetings with the owners, if the owners capitulate and say, yes, we can do this, or we'll let it go for X price. The problems that we've run into is that the price that they were asking for it, the numbers wouldn't work for redevelopment. So now if the discussions with the town go forward and the owners say, okay, we will drop our price, then we've got at least, help me, Sarah, three seasoned developers that can do this. We got three standing in the wings saying, okay, fine, we can get it at a price we can work. Let's make something happen. Let's work on it. So to answer your question, yes, it's very much worth it because you got a great asset. You got a great facility there. To even contemplate taking a wrecking ball to that just breaks my heart. I mean, you just got, what are you going to do, knock it down, make a parking lot? You got a terrific asset that something can happen there. We've taken 3 developers through there that saw it and had the vision. Say, yes, I can do this, this, and this with it. So, by all means, I think it's very much worthwhile going forward because it's too good of an asset just to throw up your hands and say, just let's condemn it and be done with it.
But then also I would say, how long has that building been empty and dilapidated like it's been? It comes a point, it's an eyesore.
Absolutely.
It's an eyesore that the people in town are saying, what are we doing with this? We need to do something with this building. So, I'm just saying, I understand what you're saying, I don't have a problem with it. I just want to make sure that the statement is that we are aware that there's an issue, that it's got, something needs to happen. Right. I mean, we can't sit another 10 years and the building still sits there. Because it's been longer than 10 years. I don't know how long it's been empty, and how long it's been dilapidated, and how long it's been an eyesore. Maybe a great asset, but if it's an eyesore, it's just an eyesore right now, and that's all it's been. So if we can't get some action, we need to take some action somehow. So, my emphasis to you guys is, whatever you can do to keep putting the pressure on to make something happen. Because we need something to go on. I was asked about it today, matter of fact. Today. What are we going to do with that beaten down building over here? So, I think the people in town of Smithfield are getting tired of seeing it there too.
Well, in all honesty, I did the first strategic plan in 2004. When I came in 2004, it looked just about like it does now. But on the other side of that coin, the focus on that building has just come about in the last 12, as far as we're concerned, the focus has just been the last 12 months. And I can tell you, and we spent an inordinate amount of time in retrospect, looking back, trying to convince the folks at the School of Government to take it on as a class project. They did a project, and they presented a report, and I don't know that we've done, I don't think the report's gotten any traction. And I'll leave it at that. I think we spent too much time with a too high expectation of what that report was going to do, what that activity was going to do for it. We'd have been much better placed working like we have recently and identifying those developers, those downtown developers that have a track record that can do it. Not only have they done it, but they have the financial means, they have the financial connections to get financing to do that project. So I'm encouraged, and I understand that it's been there a long time, and I've told you how long I've seen it, 14 years. And, but in the last 12 months, I think we've made a terrific leap forward in identifying the folks that have the vision, have the means, have the financial backing that can get it done. The roadblock now is the price of the building. That could be solved in some of the negotiations that are coming up. Could be, I don't know. But you're right, something needs to be done with it. And again, let me go back. It would have break my heart to see it knocked down, but I understand it being there so long in the eyesore, something needs to happen. It either needs to be fixed up or torn down, one or the other.
Does anybody else have any questions for Mr. Lane? Comments?
Thank you all. It's a pleasure to be with you and to continue to be able to work with you.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Thank you.
Gentlemen, we'll move forward. Item number 5, ask Planning Director Steve Lindsman to come forward and give us a presentation of wayfinding update. I see Ms. Bailey Taylor here as well. Thank you for being here. It's all yours, Mr. Lindsman. Thank you.
Thank you. Just gotta find it here. Mayor Pro Tem and Council, just want to take this time here to give you an update on our wayfinding system sign update here. So this wayfinding plan was prepared by Fraser and Associates in 2016. And I just came on the scene in November, and right away one of the first projects I was involved in was getting familiarized with this project. The intent of the project is to eliminate sign clutter and to provide consistent branded signage throughout the town and help visitors find their ways to key locations. These are a couple exhibits from an early presentation that the council had seen. The system plan is comprised of a sign design and specifications for monumental gateway signs, like shown on the right side of the screen. Downtown monumental gateway signs, so signs that say you've reached downtown. And then the Trailblazer signs, large and small, which are really arrow signs. You're here, turn left. And then parking and directional signs once you get to a location. And this is the palette of signs that is in the system plan. I can tell you the ones that we're looking at using based on the current situation. We're looking at the G1 gateway, this downtown sign, and both Trailblazers. And I think the future phase will include some pedestrian type wayfinding in the downtown. So these are not being used at this time. Our gateway locations are the big signs. They're going to be located at Market Street and Outlet Center Drive, where the old drive lane was vacated next to Zaxby's. Ava Gardner and Brightleaf, where the new road is going through. Near Holt Lake on Eddie Sutton's property. So that's on the left side as you approach town rather than typically on the right side, because that's really the only open space we have. And then West Smithfield, we have a current sign there, so the new signs will replace the old. The project was originally funded by the DSDC and the Visitors Bureau, 2% monies, and town money. The town obtained a USDA grant for $75,000, which we used those previous allocated monies as the town match. So we've doubled our money or tripled our money, so the total amount for the wayfinding project is now $203,000. I finished the RFP for the wayfinding sign to be let as soon as we get approval from the USDA to release it. So that's the very next thing that's going to happen. And that'll be let for 30 days, and at that point, we'll select a contractor and hopefully get going on the project. So these are the 4 gateway sign locations again. So this is the existing Fleming site. This is a little triangle of land by Outlet Center Drive. Eddie Sutton's property as you come into town from the southwest, and then this is Ava Gardner. The site's still under construction. So the next steps are finalizing the exact number of locations of trailblazer signs. Those are the smaller directional signs. We met today and kind of had a game plan for how we're going to do that. Probably release the RFP this next week. We'll select a contractor to fabricate and install the signs. For the 2 signs that are on private property at Fleming's and Sutton's, for both of those, it's really the best practice to have an actual sign in an easement and have an easement agreement that allows the town to be there. And then you guys approved an easement for the Sutton property a month or 2 ago. On tonight's agenda is one for the Fleming property. We got agreement to do the same for them. And the next step, as soon as the monies are released, we will use some of the funds to actually survey those 2 properties so we have a described area into which the sign will go in. Because I don't think the signs out there currently, they're just, handshake deal. Sure, you can put a sign there, but it's better to have a real right to be there. Including in the installation, we'll have to demolish the existing gateway sign on the Fleming property. There'll be some removal of sign clutter throughout the town. We have a lot of signs that really aren't relevant today, and signs on top of signs that actually look worse than they look worse than the improvements that they're supposed to point to. There'll be some site preparation involved in each, and then we'll be managing the sign installation project with the consultants. And the project will close out in September 2019. Yeah, close out in September 2019. Any questions?
Any questions from the council? Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you.
At this time, I'd like to ask Mr. Gary Johnson to come forward and give us an update on the News Amphitheater. Parks and Rec Director. Gary?
Tear it up, Shannon. There we go. All right, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, Council. Wanted to thank you for the opportunity to come up tonight to update and discuss the renovation of the amphitheater. Don and I from the Visitors Bureau and Sarah with DSDC have had discussions about this off and on for years, or probably before I became director it was discussed. It's something that people are interested in. The amphitheater is kind of a town square for us, a place for us to gather together and to celebrate together and to enjoy themselves as a town and a community. For reference, the Neuse River Amphitheater is located on North Front Street on the Greenway in the river between the Hastings House and the American Legion Hut, which is the home to the Neuse Little Theater. From a historical standpoint, and I'm only sharing what I know, the amphitheater was originally built by the Smithfield Kiwanis Club and dedicated in 1987. Since its original construction, there have been a few minor updates and a few repairs, but no major renovations that I'm aware of. Currently, the amphitheater is managed and maintained by the Parks and Recreation Department. Its current uses include the home of the Ham and Yam Festival. We have DSDC events there. We have outdoor concerts, church services such as revivals and Sunday services, and music in the park for that. It has been rented for wedding ceremonies. We have movies in the park there from a Parks and Recreation event, and we're requested for rentals all the time. You know, we get regular requests for inquiring about renting the amphitheater. Current issues with the amphitheater is antiquated. It's 31 years old. It's serviced well. But from a functional and aesthetic perspective, it needs some updates. One of the main concerns is that it's not handicap accessible. It's very hard to get a wheelchair-bound person down to the stage area where they can see a performance or see a band or anything like that, which is very important. There's drainage issues. It really stays wet in front of the stage all the time. Even when we don't have flooding, it's hard to maintain, and it stays wet, and it's hard to get down there in front of the stage. From a safety perspective, the seating area, which is, they're held together by old railroad ties, and they're starting to rot and dilapidate, and so we're going to have to do some things to that. And the stage, the roof on the stage is starting to leak a little bit, and especially after the recent storm, probably a little bit more. And there's some cosmetic and functional repairs that need to be done to the stage as far as the staging itself and the electrical to meet the needs of the performances that we like to have out there. So at the regular meeting of the regular April meeting of the town council, the council approved the contract with Withers and Ravenel to develop and design a concept to renovate the amphitheater to include construction cost estimates. The Parks and Recreation Department, the Planning Department, the Visitors Bureau, along with Economic Development and DSDC, met with Withers several times to develop a renovation plan and design for the amphitheater to make it more functional, usable, and a bigger asset for the town. So tonight we're presenting that plan to you. Tonight I have Shweta Nanakar, I'm trying not to butcher it, from Withers and Ravenel. She was one of the engineers that put the plan together. We met with her several times.
Hello, everybody. This Neos River Amphitheater project is a complete redevelopment of the existing site. The goal of this project is to create a destination place to attract visitors for concert and performances. The idea that's driving this design is that the design elements will maintain the spirit of the place, while the renovated stage and the band shell creates another nice contrast with the landscape. The brick color paved plazas and the seat walls, they fit well within the context, and the columns and the stairs not only provide the safety, but also invite the visitors towards the band shell structure. The landscape enhances the sense of arrival, and the surrounding woodland and the news buffer, it creates a sense of enclosure and a backdrop for memorable performances on this site. As Gary mentioned, there are certainly some challenges associated with this site. The lay of the land, the extreme slopes, the aging amenities, and also the site is located within the floodplain of the Neos River. So we are revising the existing footprint of the stage area just to stay within the limits of our impervious surfaces. The ADA accessibility issue, we are rerouting the existing asphalt path up to right up to the center, and then the plaza area, that's the marker showing, where the wheelchair can rest and enjoy the performances. The stage area, in front of the stage area, we are providing pervious pavers, another plaza area for people to enjoy the, when they have weddings and other events, people can enjoy that space as well. And that would, making it pervious would take care of the drainage issues that are currently existing on the site. We are also providing some lighting elements within the stairs and the seat walls that would take care of late night performances to address the safety and security issues as well. That's about it. Thank you.
Now the questions that I know you have: how much is it going to cost? The estimated construction cost, and I've provided that to you in detail, but as far as the summary goes, the estimated construction cost is $835,000, and that includes the engineering, the general contracting, and then there's a contingency of 126, so the total estimated cost at this time is $961,000. Now, as far as possible funding sources that has been discussed, private partnerships for naming rights and sponsorships, the Stephen Sausage Amphitheater on the Noose. Sounds pretty good.
I'm out.
You must have me. Public-private fundraising efforts have been used in the past, grants, and also the 2% occupancy tax funds from the Johnson County Visitors Bureau could be used for those funds as well. So, any questions and/or comments and direction?
Would you change, on the engineering, would the slope of the hill change any?
The driveway would have to make it between 5% and 8%.
Okay, that's what I was thinking, you're still gonna have a problem getting wheelchairs, because it's a pretty steep hill.
That's still, I mean, you would have to regrade the roadway down,
Yeah.
the route down to make it handicap accessible to those 2%, that slope. Is that correct?
I'll just make a comment that your handicap ramp on the back of that was built by Garrett Massengill here in town as part of his Eagle project a number of years ago.
Right.
So, one example of public donations.
So my question is, how many times, well, let's say on an annual basis, how many times do we flood that area?
I don't know that it's flooded annually. I don't know that it as far as the stage itself goes, I don't know that I've only remembered it flooding 3 times up to the stage. Now, the back of it where the greenway is occasionally, but
Yeah.
even with the past storm, it didn't get all the way up to the stage. Matthew was the last time that I remember it doing that.
How much, if, because obviously we do, maybe it's 5 years, 10 years, but I mean, we do have floods that do reach up there sometimes, at where it's at now. So as far as the height level of the existing stage compared to the height level for this stage, how comparable is that? You know what I'm saying?
Yes, I think what we are trying to do here is to retain the existing structure so we can take advantage of what is existing in terms of some of the permitting issues that might arise in the future. So we would try to keep the bones of the structure itself and then just revamp the wooden stage structure and then include the band shell on top of it.
Include the what, I'm sorry?
The band shell structure will be independent of the redeveloped stage area.
Because this looks like, it's like there's a brick foundation, concrete. Is that what you're doing? Is that what it is?
In the front?
Yep.
Yeah, I believe it's stamped concrete. Looks like brick.
It'll be like a brick,
Which the
it'll
water
be like a
should
brick
be.
veneer. You're talking about around the pole to the shelter?
The picture you got in the front here.
Yeah, that'd be like a brick veneer type deal around the
But
post.
in the back of it would be wood.
Well, it'd be wood inside the brick veneer.
That's
All the
right.
posts would have brick veneer.
So,
Or something
yeah, the
similar.
band shell structure picture that you see there is the illustration of the band shell, the structure itself. The stage area will be different for this project.
I'd like to have seen that picture. You don't have any pictures of that design, structure change?
Well, right beside the band shell is a detail of the wrap around the columns. You would have the wooden post and then you would have the brick veneer around it.
I see. One other question, what about the, we talk about funding and stuff like that, you're also looking at, you're looking at it as an investment too for the town, so you're looking at obviously bringing in business venues and things like that, and have people come to this venue, because if it has, the ability, that was one thing I think that the tourist people was interested in, that's why they brought it to us, because obviously they believe we can bring more tourism into Smithfield if we have a better amphitheater, you know, that we can draw in more. Have you taken into consideration an estimation of how much the facility like that could make, typically, I mean, you obviously wouldn't know for sure, but I'm sure there's similar venues around like that. Have you done any comparison for potential revenues that could come to the town based upon that? I mean, as we look at paying for it.
No, because our amphitheater, you know, the things closest to us is like Coca Booth. Of course, we wouldn't be anything like that. I don't know of anything. And no, I have not talked to other towns that have done that. Donna may have some information as far as what the economic impact would be from a visitor's standpoint. But we do feel like it would be an economic driver and that it would bring people into town. That's why the Visitors Bureau is involved with it so heavily, because they feel the same way.
So do you know of any venues similar to this one here? And these types of, I mean, you guys have designed these things. Are you familiar with any comparable facilities to this somewhere else around?
No, I think the only one I know is the Coca-Booth Amphitheater. The smaller ones in Cary are the one at Bond Park, but those are mostly used by the town programs themselves.
But they're not used as revenue, they don't bring in any revenue for the town?
I'm sure they bring some revenue, but I don't have any.
Okay, so that might be something we want to check to see with them.
Yeah.
You can call them and ask them yourself, Gary, and find out,
Yeah.
you know, what they type of, those smaller facilities bring in or something, I mean.
Art museum.
You wanna-
Art museum has one.
Yeah,
Well, thank you for your presentation.
absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. At this time, I'd like to invite the citizens for citizens' comments. If anybody has any comments for the record, I need to state your name and your address, and we ask you limit your presentation to 3 minutes, and this is for the sake of time. So at this time, we'll open the floor. Ma'am?
Go.
I'm one that likes trees, so this is gonna be real odd.
Can you state your name and address?
Oh, I'm
please, ma'am?
sorry. Emma Gimmel, 207 Hancock Street, Smithfield.
Thank you.
The amphitheater now, it has a lot of probably things that need to be improved, but a lot of the things that are very viable just because of the slope of the land and everything. Whenever we do have snow, it's a place that kids go to sled, and also when you go down to Ham and Yam and different venues like that, there are a lot of people sitting up on the hillside. They stand up on the, you know, on the sidewalk and different places like that. And a lot of the trees that they have there will block a lot of the view until they get to big, large trees, unless they're further away on the sides and not so close to the venue in the center. When they did, what I noticed was that the seating was here, and then they had the trees on the side, which is a very pretty look, but if you're sitting on the ground, is it going to block a lot of the view of what you're doing or not? I don't know, because I'm not sure what kind of trees I could not see up there, but I really feel that you need to think about the landscaping is a really nice thing to have, but it also doesn't need to be a detriment to what you're going for.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to make a comment? Sir, I think you would be next. Please state your name for the clerk.
My name is James Coleman. I live at 104 Heritage Drive. I'm sorry to be the bearer of sad news. Many of you might remember John Dale. He was mayor of Smithfield several years ago. His wife, his widow, Edith Dale, was a resident long after he had passed away. When Karen and I moved here in 2004, she became our landlady, and we developed a bond that existed till this day. I heard late this afternoon that Miss Dale had passed away yesterday, and this Friday would have been her 103rd birthday, and we were looking forward to helping her celebrate that. Funeral arrangements, I understand, are this Friday at First Baptist Church at 11 o'clock. Both Mr. and Mrs. Dale were longtime residents of the city, and I just wanted to share that information with the council. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, members of the council, and town administration. My name is Dr. Deborah Hooker, and I am one of the co-leaders of the Johnston County chapter for the Citizens Climate Lobby.
My name is Phyllis Lefebvre, and I am also a co-leader of the Johnston County chapter of Citizens Climate Lobby. Our organization started in June of 2016, and we are one of 10 in the state of North Carolina.
And my name is Pat LeGrand, and I live at 212 Valley Creek Drive, Clayton. And just to tell you a little bit about Citizens Climate Lobby, we're approximately 11 years old, and it's a nonpartisan, nonprofit organization with over 100,000 people that have joined it internationally. It's an international organization. And each one of us, without exception, is moved by very profound concerns over the effects of climate change. This concern has been heightened recently by the devastation of Hurricane Florence, which, as we all know, impacted parts of Johnston County and the lives and the livelihood of people throughout southeastern North Carolina. Just as an example of what this costs us, is Hurricane Matthew that we had previously cost around $4.8 billion just for North Carolina. Hurricane Florence, I went out, and Googled approximately what they think it's going to cost this time, and it's somewhere between $17 billion and $21 billion for the Carolinas combined. This is a lot of money, and it's a great concern because it's lives, and the economics of it is very important. We need to do something about this.
So some of the other things that we do as members of Citizens Climate Lobby is we write letters to the editor, we write op-ed pieces, we offer and give presentations to local community groups, we have a booth at festivals to hand out information. We talk to our local business people to ask them to endorse Citizens Climate Lobby policies. And we also meet regularly with our representatives, David Rouser and George Holding. We have requested that both Rouser and Holding join the Senate Climate Solutions Caucus. It's a bipartisan committee in Congress that now has 88 members. And we've also asked our representatives to endorse Citizens Climate Lobby's federal policy, a market-based, revenue-neutral federal carbon fee and dividend policy. And if you got that kind of hefty packet that we left with you, that is addressed in the very first section of that packet.
My understanding is you had an opportunity to preview a 2-minute video and also a link to our website. I'm hoping some of you had an opportunity to do that, which would have summarized what our policy is about. But in a nutshell, this policy proposes that a fee, or a tax if you like, to be levied on the per ton of $15 per ton of CO2 emissions potential in any type of fossil fuel. The fee will be levied on the producer at the wellhead or mine and collected by the Treasury Department. Similarly, carbon fee equivalent tariffs will be charged for goods entering the U.S. from countries without a comparable policy. Rebates would be used to reduce the price of exports to other countries. The carbon fee we are anticipating would increase at least $10 per year per ton. Now, that is the fee part of our policy. There's a dividend part. As it is, it's carbon fee and dividend is what our proposal is. The fees collected by the Treasury Department would be returned to all American households, minus administration costs, and it would be a taxable dividend to offset rising fuel costs, which obviously any costs imposed on companies would be passed on to in the form of costs at the pump. And more importantly, this is designed to encourage investment in green energy sources. In the packets that you received, we show how low-income households throughout the nation and in North Carolina would benefit from this dividend that they would be receiving on a monthly basis. And as Dr. Hooker mentioned, this is a revenue-neutral bill that we at Citizens Climate Lobby are proposing. Recently, we met with the editor of the News and Observer, requesting them to have an op-ed supporting carbon fee and dividend. And we were very pleased to see recently, if you had an opportunity to see the op-ed by Ned Barnett, the editor of the News and Observer, is now come out endorsing Citizens Climate Lobby and carbon fee and dividend. And he has also talked about the need for the members of our North Carolina members of Congress to join this bipartisan Climate Solutions Caucus, equal Democrats and Republicans, truly a bipartisan effort working for climate change.
And as I hope you also saw when you looked at the conservative case for carbon dividends, this is a policy that has the support of key conservatives. James Baker III, Henry Paulson, George Shultz, and Rob Walton. The proposal that we gave you the summary of, their proposal differs from Citizens Climate Lobby's proposal in some very minor ways, but the substance is the same. So this is not just a liberal project. So one significant way that we gain leverage with our representatives is to demonstrate that we have the support of our local businesses and local governments, and that's why we're here tonight. And that is to ask the town of Smithfield, as a forward-looking community, to issue a proclamation that supports the carbon fee and dividend policy. And there's a copy at the end of your packet of just such a proclamation that was issued by the town of Carborough. So I know we left you with a lot of paperwork. You probably got that this morning, and you probably have questions, which we will be happy to answer. Thank you.
Thank y'all for your presentation. We will take your proclamation under advisement, and since it's not on our agenda, we can look at it another time.
Okay. And also, if you have any questions, specific questions for us, there's the email address on the front of the packet. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your efforts.
Thank you.
Any other person wish to make comments?
I actually just have some questions. Is that okay?
Please state your name.
Oh, sorry. Pam Lampy. I live at 415 North 2nd Street. And just looking at the presentations tonight, I've missed a lot of these meetings, and I didn't know what the 65-acre West Smithfield Industrial Park was and how it, who is it? Does a town own it? Or?
This is a citizen's comment.
Okay, so that was a question, and then the other question I had was on the amphitheater. What kind of permitting problems would there be? Because she mentioned something about permitting problems. So that's
we thank you for your comments. I'll ask Mike if he can have his staff get those answers for you, if you'd like to present them to him in an email or something. Thank you. Does anyone else wish to address the council? Yes, sir.
How you doing? I live over 1010 North Street over there by the Walgreens.
State your name, please.
My name is John Meller. And we have a little bit of a problem back there by the medical mall. It's going to be a little bit more of a drug issue back there and prostitution, I'm sure. I'm sure everybody's aware of that and see a lot of, riffraff running back in there. I want to know maybe get a little more police patrol, and I ain't saying go hurt nobody and stuff like that and go back there. And we got to teach people what not to do and try to better them for what to do. And, all this, some cops out there do beat down the kids and stuff like that. And that's not teaching our kids and stuff like that to better themselves and get a better future. Maybe we need to look into some better ways of doing some things. I'd appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have you met our police chief? I'm sure he would be meet with you with your concerns.
No, I haven't.
That's the first time right there. He'd be glad to talk with you. Thank you for your comment.
Thank you.
Any other citizens' comments at this time? If not, we're going to move on. Having seen none, we'll move on to the next item on the agenda. At this time, we would look at our consent agenda, entertain a motion to approve that.
I move we approve the consent agenda.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion on the consent agenda? Seeing none, I call for a vote. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries, clerk. Thank you. At this time, we're going to move on to our business items. Our first item of business tonight is the final report of closing of the state-awarded water asset inventory and assessment IA grant. I call Mr. Ted Creedle. I see he's already present. Mr. Creedle, I'll turn it forward to you when you're ready. Thank you.
Here you go. Thank you, sir. All right, good evening, gentlemen. This presentation is to share with the council the fruits of the labor borne by the work involved with the 2016 AIA grant awarded to the town for the assessment of the potable water distribution system. If you recall, the reason we applied for the grant was that in 2016, the town was using some older maps. They seemed a bit outdated. The water model was already 5 years out of date at that time, and the maps needed to be more accurate to be fully compliant with state permit regulations. So the town applied for the grant and was lucky enough to be awarded the full amount of $150,000. Within the application, the town indicated we were planning to survey all the water valves and fire hydrants in our system. We would update the town's water model. We would have our engineering consultant update the town's asset management plan and use all this data to update the capital improvement plan. All this work had the long-term goal of getting a clear picture of current needs and preparing the system for expected town growth. We undertook this mission, and now the grant timeline is almost done. So to close out this grant, Condition 8 of the grant states the results of the work must be presented to the governing body. So here we are. The first step was to hire a contractor to survey the hydrants and valves. So in the spring of 2017, a contractor was hired to do just that. This company surveyed every valve and hydrant in the town system. They took the data and created a compatible data file, which was incorporated in the town's GIS database. The town's service map was updated and will be continuously updated as we gather data, and we'll publish updates annually going forward. This is the current map taken from the town website. It'll be due to be replaced in March of 2019. I'm sorry, the scale's a little bit off, but essentially what you're looking at, the blue lines are all the pipes we have, and those dots, the red dots are all the hydrants, and there's black dots in there that are the valves. You can zoom in on it as a PDF on the website. So using the updated data file, the town engineering consultant updated the town water model using the flow in 2016 as current conditions. The consultant modeled demand growth for the next 5 to 10 years. This is the picture. This is a sample of some of the results. In this picture, you'll see the town's water age. That's how quickly the water turns over in the system. The red areas indicate where the water is not turning over as fast as we'd like. It could be dead in line, or there's just not a lot of demand on it. This gives us a picture of the health of the system. This is a depiction of the water flow in the town under current conditions. Please note in West Smithfield, you see a lot of orange dots and nodes in that area. This shows water flow is low in that area. Also note the thin blue-red line, which would be along Durwood-Stevenson Highway. That's set to be put in. It's not yet constructed. So what happens when we construct it? You see it becomes a little more like a lighter blue Carolina line, and all those orange dots in West Smithfield go to green. And that's a good sign. So the consultant also used the survey and model data and updated the town's asset management plan. Water assets include water tanks, the water plant itself, delivery pumps, all flushing stations throughout the town, master meters, underground piping, as well as the aforementioned valves and hydrants. The asset management plan yielded an accurate inventory of the water assets in the town and addressed maintenance issues with many of the older assets.
This is a table from the updated asset management plan, which shows suggested maintenance projects to alleviate issues throughout the town. Please note, number one project listed on is the interconnection along Durwood Stevenson that we are currently undertaking. Here's a visual display of the exact same table, indicating where previously all these listed projects are. Please note that this shows we have projects in all corners of our system. This is not unexpected based on the age of our system. A main result of the grant project was to use this information to update the capital improvement plan. In June of 2018, the council approved the updated plan. The updated plan shows long-term commitments to the improvement of the water distribution system. As a refresher, this was the updated plan approved by council in June. Please note the four red-lined items. These items can be attributed directly to the results of the updated water model and updated asset management plan. The town has committed to a continuous program of repair and rehabilitation to help modernize and improve the water distribution system. These projects include the replacement of some water lines in accordance with the asset management plan recommendations, secondary connections to isolated portions of the system to promote water turnover and reduce water age, and programs to insert valves in areas where none exist. So, was the goal of the grant accomplished? The goal of the grant was to set a plan for the future town needs. So now we have an updated asset management plan, and now we have an updated capital improvement plan. I would say, the state would say the goal has been met. So in summary, it was a 2-year grant program. We did identify and locate all the valves and hydrants in town. One of the things we're allowed to do is actually purchase ground penetrating radar so we can actually find services that have long been hidden. We have updated the town water model, and we've revived both big plans as I've mentioned previously. And through the capital improvement plan, long-term programs are now established for the continuous improvement of the system. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Mr. Cruz, anyone have any questions for Dan? Okay.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Great job.
At this time, we'll move to business item number 2, consideration and approval of adopt resolution number 628. I'd call on Mr.
Actually, Mr. Winsman had a family emergency and he needed to leave, so I'll get you through this. Yep, no problem. If you recall last month at the meeting, our town clerk was asked to certify a possible satellite annexation on Galilee Road, about 1,900 feet south of Black Creek Road near West Smithfield Elementary School. The property is partially within the ETJ and partially outside the ETJ. It is 21.26 acres, and it is primarily a residential subdivision that is being asked to be a new subdivision that would be asked to be annexed into the town. The town clerk did investigate the sufficiency of the petition and found it to be valid. So the next step in this process, should the council so desire, would be to set for public hearing through the annexation process to have the public come in and give their opinions as to whether or not this property should be annexed into the town. This is a voluntary annexation. They're requesting annexation at this point. And in order to do that, you would need to first adopt resolution number 628, which you have in your packet as well. I would point out to you that during the previous meeting, we talked about satellite annexation. We talked about, because we haven't had a lot of it, about the only thing we have that is satellite annexation in the town right now is the country club area. So when we reviewed the statutes, it was our interpretation of the statute that we could only annex a maximum of 10% of our current geographic area as satellite annexation. So that limited us a little bit to pick and choose and make sure that we're making good decisions. Not that we don't want to, but upon review, one of the things we found was that Smithfield, we believe, was part of a local act back several years ago where we asked to be excluded from that 10% requirement. When we found that, we sent that information to Freda Bloomstein at the School of Government and asked her interpretation of it as to whether we were held to this 10% standard or not. And based on the information we provided to her, she said that we were not. Now, I've had conversations with our town attorney to review that as well, but I would state to you that I feel comfortable saying that we are not bound by that requirement at this time, which helps us to annex basically as much property as we choose to, which is a good thing for Smithfield going forward. So I would encourage the council to set this for public hearing, to get public input so it can make an informed decision as to whether or not this is the property we may want to voluntarily annex as a satellite annexation.
Gentlemen, what's the pleasure of the board based on this presentation?
Move we adopt the resolution.
I think they're asking us to establish a resolution to set a public hearing. Is that
Right, that's the resolution, 628.
Yeah, recommendation to adopt the resolution.
Do we have a second? Have a motion, have a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Do we need to go ahead and discuss a date, or is that something else to work on?
It'll be set for the next month. It'll be set for next month.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, having no further business items, at this time I would like to open the floor for council members' comments. Does anybody have any comments they would like to state?
This gentleman just asked me a question. I just texted my pastor, visitation's 10 to 11 on Friday. Whether there'll be a viewing or not, I don't know, but it will be a visitation. The comments, I apologize, but the comments I wanted to make tonight were, I guess it was Hurricane Matthew. I had the first opportunity to be a part of emergency management meetings. And for me to say I was impressed would be a gross understatement. This year, I actually attended in the Emergency Operations Center 2 of those meetings, and it is incredible. I don't know that words can describe the effort that goes on behind the scenes, the planning for these storms. It's really the citizenry would be in awe, and we talked about it after one of the meetings. It really, some of this ought to be part of a program on the PEG channel, just to let the citizens know what goes on behind the scenes, and it's coordination at every level, from the national level to the state level to the county level to the town level, and in each of our departments, in planning for the dealing with the storm and during the storm and the aftermath. And something else I learned through this storm, my mother is at home and she's oxygen dependent, and so it became a concern about the loss of power. And we did everything we could to get extra oxygen tanks, and quite simply, that's hard to do. And actually, I was mentioning it, I think, to Mike, and somebody asked me, he said, you can get on the list. I didn't know the list, so I talked to Mike, and Mike helped me get my mother on an emergency list. And as I understand it, what the list is maintained by the fire department and the police. And if power goes out, those people who are health dependent are really looked after on, tried anything that can be done to assist them, because they'll be in a critical condition. Well, every day they call my mother to make sure she was okay for, I guess, probably 3 straight days maybe, call my mother. And it's really just incredible what not only the county does, but what our town and our town staff does. And I just wanted to thank you guys and all those who are responsible. It's something that goes on that people don't know. Just like people don't know what we do as a council. But it's just really incredible the effort that goes in to serve and protect and provide for the citizenry. And anyway, I'm rambling now, but thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Ashley. Any other comments from the council?
Yes, I'd like to, my glasses on, see if he's here. Yeah, Lenny's still here. His guys and all the electrical guys, Ted, everybody for doing an awesome job during the hurricane. Where I was talking to Mr. Howard just a minute ago, we were probably about 20 miles from it getting really bad here. So we're fortunately blessed as a town, but they did an awesome job. The streets were clean in a timely manner, and probably quicker than thought was necessary, but it did an awesome job. And I want to thank you guys for that, and your hard work, and Steve for keeping an eye on the river flood level for me because my neighbor behind me is still trying to get over Matthew 2 years ago on Sunset Drive, and he said if it gets to 26 feet that it would flood their house, and it didn't, but they moved half of the house into a U-Haul to get the furniture out in case it did again. So I think a lot of that had to do as well with the river not flowing, but also the work that's been done on all the creeks and tributaries that feed into the new special route there. Good job by all.
Thank you, Councilman Stevens. Any other further comments? I have one I'd like to make. Mr. Johnson, talking about our greenway, I had the opportunity to go out the other day. It's like it's recovered well from the storm, but I noticed a few boards on a couple of the bridges. We're going to address those. Thank you. No further comments. I'll turn it over to our manager for manager's report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. A couple things that have been brought to my attention. A lot of people are talking about the mosquitoes that have picked up around town. I can assure you they're picked up throughout the county and more so elsewhere other than Smithfield. We do have a mosquito spraying program that has been in place through the summer. That has helped keep our problems somewhat at bay, but they are getting worse. We are continuing spraying. We'll do that throughout the month of October. The county also has received some federal money that they are going to use to be spraying the entire county, and they will be doing that, I believe, from the air, though don't quote me on that for sure, but I think they're still figuring it out through their health department, but we will be included in that as well. So while we can't go on private property, we can't spray your individual properties, that's an individual owner responsibility, we are doing everything we can to try to keep that problem under wraps. I also want to invite everyone next month at the November council meeting. We will have a person here who has done some work on researching some of the data of our school system here in Smithfield as it compares to some of the other schools in Johnston County. And he will be here to do a brief presentation for the council, about 15-20 minutes or so at the beginning of the meeting. So I encourage all of our people who are interested in our school system, including our school board members, to come and listen to that presentation. Some of them have already heard it, but it's always good to hear the same thing again and ask questions. So that is something that I encourage people to come to next month. Some things happening about Smithfield I want to bring to everyone's attention. We do have our dog park is now open over by Civitan Field. The fencing is all in, it is being used. We still have some water trays to put out and a little bit of concrete to lay, but it is a usable dog park. It is marked as such. Please bring your animals over there. It's a great place to use them. Pick up after them. We appreciate that as well, especially Gary there. But do take advantage of it. It's a great asset for Smithfield. Also, I wanted to mention that Halloween is here around the corner. The town will be having trick or treat on Wednesday, October 31st from 5 to 8 p.m. So if you have little ones who want to go out trick or treating in your neighborhood, please dress them in some type of fluorescent gear if they're going to be out after dark. So keep them safe and do trick or treat from 5 to 8 o'clock on October 31st. Parks and Recreation is also holding a trunk or treat for our young people so they don't have to go out. And this will be on October 27th on Saturday from 4 to 6 o'clock at Community Park. So please come and enjoy that as well. We have an annual Ghost Walk here every year. It's a great event. Been to it most years myself. It is being scheduled for October 25th on Thursday from 5 to 9, and it starts over on from 5 to 9. It starts over on South 2nd Street and Front Streets and walks through the cemetery area where very knowledgeable, and then it ends over at the Hastings House where I'm sure Sarah will be there to bid everybody good evening. The police chief asked me to mention that Fire Prevention Week is coming up October 8th through the 12th, so make sure you check those batteries in your smoke detectors and do all you can to be safe and be prepared for any type of emergency involving fire. And lastly, our Touch a Truck event, which is put on by our Junior Women's League of Smithfield, is scheduled for Saturday, October 27th from 9 to 4. So you can go to that and then run over to the trunk or treat if you like. That is at South 3rd and Johnston Streets. here in town. That has been a great event the last 2 years, and I encourage all of our parents to bring their children out to experience all that has to offer a nice free event. And that is all I have, Mr.
Thank you, Mr. Scott. At this time, we have no further business. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.